So welcome to Track Tech's first DIY. Today we're going to be installing our first product, which is the Track Tec Camber Lockout kit. Good for a lot of F80 vehicles, M2s, M3s, M4s, as well as E90 M3s and some other cars as well. You can check all of the specifications for fitment in the link in the description for the video, as well as the part link on the website. Today we're going to show you how to install the camber lockout kit, all the tools you need, the science behind why we install these camber lockout kits and why they're going to benefit you when you are driving on the track or just spirited driving on the weekends. If you like to slide your car, do donuts, whatever that is, we want to make sure that your alignment and everything stays perfectly in spec. And then we're going to show you all the steps. So from jacking up the car and taking your wheels off to the final tightening of the last bolt, we're going to walk you through everything so that you too can feel comfortable installing this kit in your garage. And so here we have our kit bolts. So they're factory 10.9 rating, steel bolts with steel washers, steel nuts with a nylon locking collar. So that's going to make sure that even with the vibration in the suspension, that there's no movement. This never comes loose whatsoever. So another great feature of the Track Tec kit over OEM is that nylon lock. So as you can see here, the rating on the factory bolt 10.9, the Track Tec kit also a 10.9 rated bolt. I'm not sure these are galvanized or some sort of other steel. These are zinc plated, but again, corrosion resistant, no worries there. You'll be good with the zinc plating going forward. And then you're gonna have your 5 packs of shims. So these shims, 4 in each kit, and these are gonna be 0 to 4 millimeters. So you have 9 different adjustments. You can flip either one, and you'll use all 4 of one. The others will be for extra or adjustment in the future, depending on how you want your alignment set up. Here you'll see they're all laser engraved with 1 mil. 3 mil, and basically what that represents is 3 mil off center. So now if you flip it this way, you're 3 mils off center this way. So that's how you get your 9 adjustments from the 5 different sets of shims. All right, so before we get started, we're just gonna go through every tool you need quickly so you can get that already, get organized before we start. So the factory bolts are 21 mil, so both ends, the bolt and the nut on the factory eccentric bolt are 21 mils. So we got those ones. If you want to use a wrench, you can definitely use a wrench on one side, use a ratchet on the other. I just prefer to use 2 ratchets. Then 22 mil is going to be for our bolts. So for the new kit you're installing, to tighten those ones up, it's going to be 22 mils. Again, if you want to use a wrench, that is up to you. We have our 17 mil. That's simply to break the wheels free, as well as a downsizer because I'm using 1/2 inch and 3/8 inch. Next is the breaker bar. Again, just to break the wheels free. Also underneath, this becomes handy just to get a little bit more leverage. The bolts underneath there are quite tight. We have our extension for the breaker bar. Again, just for getting the wheels and avoiding touching the barrels. Our ratchet, a second ratchet. Get those ready and let's get installing. And then we also have a jack and 2 jack stands, which we'll show you as we jack the car up. All right, so the first step is gonna be just removing the bolts. So we're gonna crack them when they're on the ground still for the wheels. Again, this is pretty standard procedure, but again, do this on the ground before you jack it up, before you're on jack stands, so your wheels aren't wanting to spin on you. All right, so to jack it up, you're gonna wanna choose either side, but you're gonna wanna start on the rear jack points. I'm just at this angle just so I can get a good movement with this other car beside me. But you're gonna wanna get the wheel probably about 6 to 10 inches off the ground, because we're gonna actually just jack up on the one side and let the car teeter over. All right, so now I'm gonna grab 2 jack stands. So we got 1 We got 2 jack stands. These are axle stands, and I'll show you exactly where I'm going to put those. All right, so again, we're gonna use 2 stands for safety. So I'm gonna slide these in right to the subframe. It's gonna be a black cross brace right here, you can see. If you don't have the M Performance or aftermarket exhaust, you should be able to get both jack stands centered here. If you do have the M Performance or an aftermarket exhaust, you may have to position one of the jacks on the outside or on one of the control arms as well. So we're gonna make sure that these are at the same height based on the clicks. Obviously this one looks higher, but these are at the same height. So it's gonna first settle down onto this one and then slowly settle down onto this one as it comes across. So Mike's gonna just keep the camera here and you'll see this as I slowly release and rock it down. Just maybe don't be under the cart, Mike.
Yeah, that's probably a great idea.
Yeah. We're just gonna quickly slowly break the jack loose here. And you're good there. All right, yeah, so we got the one on, and then we'll just keep dropping it and it will catch on the other one. All right, so now that it's up on the jack stands, again, this is how I prefer to jack up my car. Everyone has their preferences. If you prefer to do it a different way and you feel comfortable jacking it up from one side, putting the jack stands on either side, again, that's completely up to you. Just make sure that it is secure. Again, the car's not moving. I have my front wheels chalked as well to make sure that the car won't roll forwards or backwards. And don't worry, this is all expelled, so I'm not scratching my paint. So next we're just gonna take the wheels off. This is pretty straightforward. I've loosened them already, so I'm just gonna use an impact to remove them the rest of the way and get this done quickly. All right, so now that we have the wheel off and you can see the bolt, so the eccentric bolt is gonna be the farthest one to your hub. So it's on your lower control arm. You have your strut bolt and then you're gonna have your eccentric bolt. So this is what we're gonna be replacing today. So the first step that you're gonna wanna do before you loosen this at all is just mark exactly where the bolt is. So take a permanent marker and just do a nice mark. I like to mark the inside here again, and this is now going to show you exactly when we're lining up the shim where you need to be at for your rotation. So once it's loose and you've been twisting it, that you'll be able to find your center and where your alignment currently is. If your alignment is out before you get this done, I do recommend taking it to an alignment shop so they can measure and again, put the right shims in to get in a perfect alignment. But if your alignment is currently good, this is gonna be how you're gonna keep it lined up to exactly how it currently is. All right, so now that we have it all marked up, we're gonna get our 21 on this side, and we're not gonna wanna spin the side that has the fixed washer because that's gonna spin the threads within and there could be some tension on. So you wanna just make sure you loosen from the other side and you loosen the nut off the bolt to remove the tension before you ever spin spin the bolt itself. So I've got both my 21s. And this bolt, once it's loose, comes off pretty easily. So now, initially, I have the bolt loose. I'm not gonna pull it right out. And this is gonna allow me to line up the shim that I need by just pulling this out and lining up a shim behind it. So we'll just show you exactly how that works right now. All right, so I'm just gonna lay down here to show you a little bit better what I'm talking about. So basically now we marked it, so now we know, even if we spun it and it was over here from loosening it, whatever, we know exactly where it's supposed to be. So we can push that in, pull it out, and then from there, we're gonna see what lines up. So this shim was actually the perfect shim. You can see it slid right in there really nicely. Obviously when you put it in for the actual install, it's gonna go in from the top, but you're gonna see that this bolt is still very nicely lined up with the edge and the shim slides perfectly in. So that's gonna be the one you want. So that for me is a 2 mil, but I'll show you, for example, see I can't slide the 1 mil in because there isn't enough space there with how it's sitting. So that's why I know that this is gonna be the right one. For me, it's gonna be this 2 mil. So now you can remove this completely and you know the size shim that you need, and we'll get that all installed. So that should pull right out. If this doesn't pull out and it is stuck in here, you can put your jack right underneath this knuckle right here and slightly put pressure up or down. This is sprung weight here, so depending on the tension, this could shift. And therefore you may need to get a jack under here to get the bolt out or to get the new bolt in. So make sure that you're not forcing it, and do just relieve a little tension right here if the bolt won't come out for you. All right, so now that we have the factory bolt out, the eccentric bolt out, we're gonna get the factory or the kit bolt from Track Tec. So this is our Track Tec bolt. We're gonna take the one washer and the one bolt off, and we're just gonna slide it through to start here. Oh, so the eccentric washer was just still stuck on the other side. That's what that was. So now basically from here, your bolts, as long as nothing has adjusted, should still be virtually in the same place. You just wanna make sure, again, does your shim slide in there? If it doesn't slide in there nicely, you know, you can see it's super close. Sometimes you might need to wiggle it a little bit to get it in there. It should slide in because we already adjusted where this was. So you can see if that bolt's tight, that 2 mil is gonna slide right in perfectly. Again, you can start by tightening the other side a little bit, and then just sliding the shim in. Again, I just did that for a test fit, so now that I know that it is right, I can slide it in from the top. Rotate it around and lock it in from the top. This way, I know that it will never fall out and it's fully locked in. So now we'll start snugging up the other side. We're gonna slide the other shim in up top as well. Make sure that is locked in. And from here, we're just gonna tighten it. So simple, straightforward. Again, measure it, mark it, slide the right shim in, and then get her tight. And now we're just gonna quickly hit them with the torque wrench. So these are gonna be torqued to 165 Newton meters, which is roughly 121.5 or 122 foot-pounds. So we're gonna go to 122 foot-pounds just to be safe. And unfortunately, the only access here is to torque from this side. I can't get the torque wrench into the other side, or I would do it on the nut and not on the bolt, but it's gonna be okay, and we're gonna get it tightened up. All right, so now we have the torque wrench on here, set to 122 foot-pounds. I'm just gonna spin this until we hear that right there. All right, and just like that, you've installed your Track Tec Camber Lockout kit. So you can see here now, now that it's installed, this bolt has zero chance of ever moving. Even if you want to work on your suspension, anytime you put the same shim back in, it's going to be set to the exact same camber. So it's really nice if you like to pull your suspension apart. You're working on your suspension often, whether you're tracking, trying to dial in your setup perfectly. You know, you can pull out shims, put in shims yourself. and that's just going to allow you a lot of adjustment and allow you to kind of play with that stuff yourself. I do have adjustable toe arms here, but you can also just adjust your toe with the regular eccentric bolt to make sure that your alignment is all dialed in, whether that is through an alignment shop or you know how to do that yourself. We'll leave that up to you. So yeah, that's about it. It's torqued. We're gonna toss the wheel back on right away and go take this thing out for a drive. All right, now that the wheels are snugged up, we're just gonna jack it up, take the jack stands out, and we're gonna be good to go. All right, thanks so much for joining us here at Track Tec and watching our first DIY video. We're going to bring you a lot more of these in the future as we release more parts and have more for you guys to install. If you have any other questions, feel free to reach out to us via email or via our Instagram. You can find more information on our website as well at tracktecparts.com. There's the FAQ section, as well as you can find some links to some other videos and some build forums, stuff like that, if you're looking for more information or to see other cars that are currently running our setup as well. Thanks again for joining, and look forward to seeing you next time.